my God. Look, I'm a firm believer of this thought.
Mm-hmm.
The thought is simply this: it's okay to leave the XLLDM community to go heal. I'm going to say it one more time. There's a reason why sometimes it doesn't seem like there's a lot of people that are watching or anything with the XLDM community, and it's because they're healing. They took the time, they left, and sometimes they don't want to ever come back. But then other times, some do want to come back because they know the journey that is required. They know what it takes to really get to where you can be at a healthy place in your life, right? And to those people, we want to give them a platform so they can share their experience, so they can share what's going on in their lives. And one of the things that I'm becoming more familiar with is just listening to these amazing stories. They're different in many ways. So, with that being said, I have a special guest. Now, I'm going to hype her up because she deserves the hype. She really, really does. So,
Thanks a lot.
uh, I'll put it to you like this. Imagine a similar story. We hear it a lot. You have all these gifts, you have all these talents, and talents that otherwise would be like would make you public in a big way, right? But instead, you were convinced, and you chose that your gifts were now going to be at the service of a man. That
Yeah.
you were going to give all of these gifts and honor and exalt someone that never deserved it in the first place, right? And then you leave. And what do you do when you find out the truth, which we'll get to in a little bit? And what do you do with all these gifts? Do you let them go to waste, or do you use them to your advantage? And for that, we have our special guest today. I'm going to let her introduce herself. I'm going to let her say her name, where she's from, anything that she wants to share with us, and we'll get the conversation going. Ready? Big
Okay.
reveal. Three, two, one. Gah. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Mija.
How are y'all?
It's great seeing your beautiful face, and I admire you for just being on, Mija. It takes a lot of courage to do this,
Hmm.
uh, but we need to hear stories. We need to hear testimonies of what gave you the strength to speak out,
Hmm.
or to even say I'm done, or you know, just that light bulb that turned on. So
Yeah.
we're gonna let you give your testimony. I'm not gonna say much because people want to hear the story and not not give it enough. So you want to go ahead and introduce
Hmm.
yourself?
Yes. So my name is Saraí. I used to belong to the Houston Central Church, and I still currently reside nearby, somewhere nearby. But yeah. So that's where my home church was at. Uh, my Houston people probably, I'm sure they know who I am. I actually was in choir, quite involved a lot. And so, yeah, I'm just happy to talk and just kind of get it out of the way because it's been a long time since I left. And there was just always something in my mind, especially recently, that I felt that it was time and to just speak. So, with that, I just want to disclose something is that, whatever it is that I'm going to talk about, or we're all three of us going to talk about, is that none of it is ill intent. None of it is for me to talk trash or bad about anybody. Like, I really would like to stay on topic as far as like my experience goes. But I want people to understand that because I'm sure there's going to be people who are still there who are going to listen to this and might think, well, she's going to talk all this mess. And that's really not what I want to do. I want to stay away from that because I went through that stage in my life and it just didn't, there was no good fruits out of that.
Right.
So,
fruit? Did someone say fruit?
Yeah.
What you?
Unintended.
Well, here at the Fig Tree Podcast, we pride ourselves in providing fruit of the spirit. So the fruit that we're gonna have today is that of positivity and light and love and
Yeah.
your experience. So that let's. You want to jump into it?
Sure. Just what do
What
you
is your
want?
social security number?
Oh,
What's your
Hey,
car license number?
your status, marital
No,
status.
no,
Oh,
none of that. Let's dive more into your experience in the choir, right? So
mhm,
let's get the normal common stuff out the way, right? So we know that in choir, you're a member, you have a different schedule than everybody
mhm.
else,
Right.
and amongst the choir members, there's the directors, and the directors spend X amount of time depending on their passion for what they're doing to teach, learn, and instruct in any other way, right?
Mhm,
But then amongst the directors, you have even those that are even more dedicated.
mhm,
These, when you encounter these members, or at least when I did, their love for music was unbound.
mhm,
You would see them, and you admire those that are directors amongst directors,
mhm,
because to achieve that, you have to know your ish. You just have to.
mhm.
And it's a merciless shark tank when you don't. Like it's rough. So how far did you go into the choir?
In church or in the
Yeah,
place?
no. Whoa. No big reveals. No big reveals. Whoa,
Okay.
whoa. I'm just talking about the cult.
Oh, okay, okay. Um, so I went as far as, I guess, my last project that I did was, so during pandemic, uh, it was brought upon myself to do some virtual choir studies. And so for those who used to be in choir and left after 2020, if you saw those videos, I was like the sister who would do like the voice lessons, the warm-ups. And so this was like streamed to all like the choir members. So that essentially is what I guess that's the farthest I did. Now, the right before leaving, I was going to be involved in a very like, I guess, quote, important project that was linked with Guadalajara. And so I was going to start something with them, but it didn't come out of fruition on my end because that's when I started having my doubts, and I just chose to walk away. So
gosh, there's so
Okay.
many questions I have for you, Sarai. So, were you born in church, or were you born in church, or did you come in as an adult
no, I was born and raised in church.
raised in church? So your parents are like the first generation in church, or the second?
First generation.
Wow.
Hmm.
So ever since you were little, you were raised to like love the choir and stuff. How was
Hmm.
it that you got involved with the choir?
Okay, so it's a funny story. Honestly, I did not grow up as a singer. Actually, I was an instrumentalist. So in high school and middle school, I played the violin.
Ooh,
And, but of course, being in church, there's no instruments. That was something that was frowned upon. And so, I guess the closest thing to music in church was choir. And that's how I joined. And I did not have the greatest voice. I mean, I still don't, because there's wonderful singers out there,
Oh,
but
you play.
thank you,
but
Tammy.
my point is, that's how I joined. And then I got into the hype of things. I started making friends and just the fellowship, which is, I guess, the one thing I miss the most is the fellowship.
The community and the
um
fellowship. Yeah, absolutely.
yes. And so yeah, that's kind of how I dove myself into choir. And then more and more, with the knowledge I had from
Music.
school, I started like integrating myself into learning music, learning how to read it, and just self making my trying to learn how to be a better singer.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Were you the church choir director, or were you just in choir?
No, I never wanted to be the choir director. Just too much responsibility.
Mhm. Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
You mentioned something about that something didn't flourish and you didn't happen. Was it? Do you want to go into that? Into that? What woke you up? What was it that you saw that you said, or do you want to share something about your life in the choir and so forth? What would you like to do?
Um, I guess we can talk about how I opened my eyes to all this, and how obviously the project that was presented to me didn't go into fruition on my end, because I think, to my understanding, they did develop the project, but
Hmm.
obviously I just wasn't part of it anymore. But it was, I want to say, it was around pandemic time. Um, and look, just a little context before, like, I actually opened my eyes. I was already kind of like in the hole during pandemic because everybody was home. We were watching church from home. My state of like animal, like, just I just wasn't very into this whole church setup that was happening.
It was a blessing in disguise, Sarai. COVID was a blessing in disguise.
I mean, now that I see it, yes, I agree. And so right before August, the Holy Supper, um, I was like, man, I need something to uplift me. So out of nowhere, I got a call that I got invited to go sing at this Holy Supper in Phoenix in
Oh,
2020,
I was gonna
and
ask you.
that's the Holy Supper that got streamed. And it was during that time that everybody was at home. So I accepted the invitation, thinking that it was this wonderful blessing, and so I went ahead and I did the journey. There were some things that I was like, just incomodidades, like things
Like
that did not pan out. Like, for example, like my stay, my not hotel, but like they had told me that brothers were going to keep me at their house, and it didn't happen when I got there. So I really had to like find somebody who I could stay with.
the host.
Luckily, I had a friend. Yeah, I had a friend, and he was able to like extend his place, just, for me to stay there with him and his wife. And so so that, and then, just going to the prayers. So getting to the day of the 14th of August, um I go in the church. I was, in my mind, I was like consecrated, because the person that I am, yes, I believed in the election wholeheartedly, but to me, Jesus Christ was always above everything.
Right.
And I always saw it that way. And so in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to receive the Holy Supper, Jesus Christ's Last Supper. So I'm going to renew my pact with him.
Right.
And that was my mindset going in there. And everything else was just extra. So when the service started, um, you know, the whole formality of the order, the service, I was able to pass and sing, and so yada yada, right? So right before they were gonna do the um, the bread and the wine, I'm gonna try to be as, not loosely, but at the same, because I have my reservations about this.
Right.
But essentially, I saw it as a show. The minister who was there just started shouting and screaming so loud, and I had no idea what was going on. Like, I'm like, okay, what's happening? And
They want to
so
hype people up.
they
Oh, we
blew
know what
open.
was
So
happening.
look, they blew open the main doors, and then he started saying, he's here. And I'm like,
Oh
who's
yeah, I
here?
remember
Like, who's here?
that.
So, and then he mentioned, Nason's here, blah, blah, blah. And I turned around and everybody was waving at nothing, right? I mean, physically, there's nothing there. But, of course, their argument is he's spiritually here, his spirit is here, all that, right? You know this. So, but when that moment was happening where he was walking down the aisle, I started feeling this really ugly sense like come over me. And it wasn't pretty. Like I felt like this was wrong.
Como un celo de Dios.
Yes, yes, yes. I was zealous of what was happening.
Yes.
And so I started guilt tripping myself in that moment. And I started saying, no, 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 like you cannot think of this. This is
Take that
the
spirit away.
devil. This is the devil tempting you. And so I started praying and saying, Gloria a Cristo, glory to Christ, like take these thoughts out of my mind. But at the same time, it was just I felt like it was heart crushing in a sense because I didn't feel that was right. And the only consolation I had in that moment was the fact that I was renewing my path with Christ. And so I had to allow myself to just stay the focus on why it was there.
That was your priority at that moment, right?
Yeah. At the end of the day, to try to ignore everything that was happening, because to be honest with you, I don't remember anything else after. I remember there was an audio recording of him talking and other stuff, and I blurred it all out because
so that was when he was already in prison then.
Yes, he was already in prison. Yes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and I was able to take the Holy Supper. That was my mind just praying and praying, and that was it. And then I went home the next day. So I did not tell anybody any of this because I was really scared of what my parents were going to think, of what were people going to say about me. And just out of nowhere, I had a conversation a month later with one of my good friends, and I told this person what I felt. And this person told me, that's no coincidence. And my friend told me, I'm going to tell you something, but I want you to understand, please listen to what I'm telling you, and you make your decision if you believe or not. And then that's when she told me everything. She opened up the big can of worms, and she said how she felt. And at the end of the day, she's like, look, you do your research. You're a very smart person. So do your research, and then you make your decision. If you want to stay in church, that's fine. I'm still going to respect you. I'm still going to be your friend. But if you decide to leave, like, great. And exactly what she told me, advised me to do, I did. And I researched. I tried to get as much documents as possible. And then I want to say maybe like a week later is when I solely made the decision to like walk out. Now, mind you, like 3 months passed after that, and nobody knew I was out. I was just not assisting any of the services. Yeah, because it was during pandemic, so nobody could tell I was there or not.
During the blessing in disguise, yes.
Yes. And so, yeah, that happened, and 3 months later, I ended up getting a call from my minister asking why I haven't been attending like the virtual services or the prayers. And then I told him straight up, I told him respectfully, I don't believe anymore. I'm doubting a lot. And I know a lot of information from people that I know who were directly affected, and I believe them. Right. I believe them wholeheartedly. They would not lie to me about that. And so, he tried to give a rebuttal, like, well, why don't they go and press charges if that's true? But we all know that that's just not how it works with them.
Right.
So I said, well, no, because these people are afraid. And so I ask you to kindly don't call me again. Like, just don't call me again. And he didn't. He didn't call me anymore after that. So,
okay. You know what's really hard is how people that are still like El Mundo They constantly say, why now? Why did it take so long? Or it's not true that people are not believing. It's not that it's not true that people are. We heard Digno's testimony. He still goes to church because of
Right.
his wife. So there's so many people in that position, or they get out and or they're afraid to come out. I used the example the other day of you know coming out of the closet. People are afraid to do that because they're thinking they can be shunned by the family. Same thing with us. We leave La Luz del Mundo or any
Yeah.
cult, and you're afraid to say something because we know that we're going to lose all our family, our community, and our friends. So people choose to just not say anything. They stop
Mhm.
going. But even when
Mhm.
you stop going, as long as you don't talk about the election, they'll still talk to you. That's what
Yeah, I
happened.
have some family members that actually told me that directly. And they said, if you ever talk bad about him, like, I'm goodbye. Like, we're not family anymore. And I wouldn't be surprised if that family member sees this and they'll say that. And I'll be honest, I'm at the point where, okay, you don't serve me a purpose anymore in my life. Oh, well.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I wanna
go ahead, Kevin.
thank you. Uh, you mentioned, it's easy to mention briefly. I left because of the truth. I left because of the stuff that I knew. I had this conversation with this minister, and I told him to leave me alone, and so on and so forth. Right? Like it's easy to just say it, but in that moment, there's a lot going on, and
Mhm.
the biggest one is that your faith is no longer a foundational piece of who you are. You are now, you don't know what's going on. You just know that you just don't know, right? That like it's like that's the biggest fear that we have, right? So one of the things that I like to expand upon, especially when we're talking to different guests, is how did you feel about your faith in those moments? Like what were the hardest questions for you to kind of face?
Mhm. I mean, it's honestly everything. Everything. And the one thing is, does God exist? That was the one thing that I questioned a lot. And because when you find all this information and you find out that your life was a whole lie, like it was founded by lies, you lose your identity completely. And you start questioning, like, who am I as a person? Like, or whatever your situation is, right? In my sense, I think in my situation, I definitely doubted God. There was a few months that I didn't believe in Him, and I was really angry as to, like, why is this happening to me? Like, I consider myself a decent person and I try to be as much as possible. But like, as a, if I had that kind of idea of who I was, like, why is this happening to me? Um, so I think that's one of the biggest hurdles, really, is just trying to overcome um, all of that information and overcoming mainly the anger, because there's so much anger behind it, and you want the worst to happen to them. Like, that's all the thoughts you think about. So, I mean, I'll say it takes a lot of self-work. Or I did a lot of like shadow work and stuff like that. Therapy, I did a lot of therapy too, like. And I'll say I'm very blessed that I have really good friends that supported me. And when I opened, like, I opened myself to them, they were very just empathetic about my situation. Um so it's been a journey.
It has been. Okay.
Uh,
And you got a question, Thea?
Go ahead.
Oh, so you love music.
I do.
You pursued it. You went after it to the point where you were even in the cult, for small as a bubble as it was, you were pulled into what we considered high level projects
Mhm.
that otherwise would, a lot of people would wish that they had that opportunity in the cult,
Mhm.
right? Like that's just a truth that amongst directors, it was very competitive. It just was. So you clearly have a gift for music and you love it with a passion, right? How difficult, this one's a personal one. I don't know how many are going to understand it. I was a choir member, I was a director, I love music. When did you allow yourself to openly sing again?
I want to say, when was it? 2022? Wait, no. Actually, a year later. Now that I think about
A
it,
year
a year
later.
later. I'm trying to think about it. Like a year later. So I haven't mentioned this, but I actually do have a professional degree in music. I have a bachelor's degree in education, and I currently teach
Congratulations.
music. Thank you. So I learned. I mean, I learned a lot of skills in school. So when I say this, because a year after I left, I decided to join the Houston Symphony Chorus here, which is
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
I joined the Houston Symphony Chorus.
That's
Houston Symphony Chorus.
Yes.
good deal.
Bam!
Yeah.
Bam! What do you do with your gifts? You join the Houston Symphony Chorus. That's beautiful.
It's fun. I love it. I mean, it's high level music, and it fills me. I mean, it doesn't fill me the same, but it really is. It's healed me a lot, and I've been in the chorus for 4 years.
Nice.
I hope to continue
Good.
because I love it so much.
Good.
It's
I'm glad.
crazy how
Glad
doors
for you.
close somewhere and they just open for you somewhere else. And I think it's beautiful. It's just trying to find how to overcome and not
Hmm.
miss what you left behind. And that feel I did that. I joined choir in a Christian church here in Sacramento.
Hmm.
I used to go to Capital Christian Center,
Okay.
and it was so funny because they had to audition me, and I was like, "Well, no, you just jump in, right?" And so it was like
We wish we
audition.
could have auditioned.
They did. And the worst part is that they asked, it's an English church, and they wanted me to sing "Amazing Grace." I'm like, I don't know that song by heart. I have to read it from a book or something. And they gave me a book, and then I sang it. And they said, okay, you're in. But they told me, what do you want to start? How,
Yeah.
what voice do you use? But yeah, they auditioned you, and then they put a list of who makes the choir, and because it's a big church. We did every Christmas. We did the Living Christmas Tree, which is
Oh, that's yes.
stand like this.
Oh,
And for Easter, we do a beautiful play of Jesus and stuff. It was really really cool to be involved like that in the choir, and I did that for like 5 years.
Mhm.
Um, but it helped me heal. It helped me realize
Yeah,
I was
it
missing,
helps a lot.
and
It
I yeah, and even being in that going to that church, I felt the Holy Spirit in that church.
I feel exactly the same. Even if I'm not going to a church right now, but um, I feel the same when I sing with the chorus. And I'll be honest with you, when I auditioned for the chorus, it was also kind of a reality check because because let me tell you, when you are in LLDM choir, you live in a bubble, and
We
you
do.
Yes,
think that, oh, I'm on top of the world and I can do this. Like, look, let me
no,
tell
sir.
you, the egos that you encounter in choir, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm not going to excuse myself, because I am sure that I have uh probably fallen into that category of like
I did.
fluffing my ego. We
Hmm.
all have. We're human. So, but the amount of people that are, whew, they just think that they're over everything. They absolutely have no idea outside of LDM. And I say this because when I auditioned, it was pretty extenuous and hard. And not only that, but like you also have to sing at sight. We call it sight singing. And so essentially you look at a piece of music, it's small, but you have to look at these measures and you've never seen that music ever, and you have to sing it on pitch. And so they're testing to see how well you can sing. So in case they say, okay, well, you have to learn this music by the next day, like you have to be like on it. So it's just yeah, I like I said, reality check, man.
It doesn't take you 4 weeks to learn a song? That's crazy.
I mean, it depends how hard it is, but it truly, I mean, you have to have those skills out there, because it is a really hard profession to be in. And it's, if you think LDM's cutthroat, it's even worse out here. So yeah.
Well,
There
they
you
made
go.
it.
There's the truth.
I never learned music, in choir when I was in choir in San Diego. They just taught us just by ear, la música de oído. That's it. So when I joined the choir, they literally told us that we had to learn music. So they gave us music classes to learn the notes and stuff. And that's how I did that for a couple of years, just to pick it up.
Mhm.
And it made me thoughtful, because I understood later on why our choir director was strict about that. He said, it's okay for you to pick it up by ear, but I'd rather have you go home and study it, like you said.
Mhm.
And we had to always study, like the Easter songs right after Christmas. We started practicing Easter songs, because we knew that we had to get ready for the Easter program. So yeah, it was amazing. Can I ask you a question? How about your family? How did they react on all this?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Your family, how did they react when you stopped going to church?
Just everybody overall?
Your
Family.
family.
My family. Okay. Sorry, it kind of cut off. Relatively well. I mean, I don't really want to talk much about my siblings, because that's their business, but I'll say that they have accepted me wholeheartedly, and they love me. And as far as my parents go, they are still there. And we really went through a rough patch for the first 2 years.
Really?
Constantly arguing, constantly, them in their idea that I need to change my thoughts and my ways. And I'm telling them, no, like, this is me. This is who I am. So I think we've finally like patched it. And the way I see it, yes, I have my parents for the most part, like, their love, but I want to say like 90-95%, because there's that 5-10%, because simply they're still at that at that church.
I want to hold you on that one, Sarai. I don't know if you're a mom, but I'm a mom. They love you 100%. A mom and a dad, well, they might say things, they might react different, and you might think that the lovingness, the cariñoso, is not the same, or you don't feel that attachment. But as a mom, I literally want to say this to everybody. As a mom, as a dad, Kevin, you're a dad, and you know that regardless of what your son does, you're gonna love him 100% or more, regardless. So don't ever feel that, mija. That's what La Del Mundo wants you to feel. Wants you to feel
That makes sense. I see that.
Emptiness, but it's not. Your parents are gonna love you. My mom, she's 92 years old. She's in a convalescent home now, and by the grace of God, she still talks to me. Even though family will tell her not to talk to me, que soy del diablo, que soy una perra, all this other stuff. And my mom tells me all the time, she goes, no matter what they tell me, I'm always going to love you. So I know that your parents, in their head, mija, en su cabecita, they still know that this is Sarai. I could see and feel your sweetness. And don't ever feel that. I'm just speaking for parents to I hear so much pain sometimes in Reddit, with kids feeling lost and not loved by their parents. But don't make you feel that way, Mihan. Even if that's 5% that you feel that they love you 100%. They're lost. And that 5% that maybe they might feel or they might want you to feel, that's the cult.
Mhm.
And God willing, one day they will wake up and go, why am I feeling this way towards my daughter? You know what I mean? It's like, don't let that get you, mija. It hurts, but at the
Mhm.
same token, it's what La Luz del Mundo wants you to feel. And don't give them that gift. Don't.
Yeah.
Just my thought as a mom.
Thank you. Thank you for the advice.
And the Tia Tabby. Do you have any questions, Kevin?
I do actually. Yes, I do.
Please.
So one of the things that we deal with a lot outside of these battling thoughts of no love is the relationship with parents. There's different age groups, there's different situations for all of that, right? So you said it that you went through a very rough patch. What we would say about 2 years, you said.
Mhm.
So what does that look like on the other side? Like we know what the arguing looks like, we know what the back and forth, we know what they would say, we know what we would say. For the most part, the situation is different, but to actually have a functioning relationship, even if it's not ideal,
Mhm.
is difficult to achieve and hard to believe possible, but it is.
Mhm.
So what does that look like for you?
Um, for me, I'm just really happy, to be honest. Yes, I went through that really rough patch, but I think when I realized that I had to let go of all the anger that was inside of me and the bitterness, because it really, the ugly Sarai really came out during that time. And so I had to focus on myself first to heal myself before I approach my parents, because I need to approach them with a lot of love.
Yep.
And so when I was able to overcome that anger and the, I guess, what is it, like vengeance? Because I know people want to be vengeful and say, I want this to happen to this person and I can't wait to, like, I get it. And I get it. It's totally valid, but it's only going to damage you. And you're going to continue to be bitter and you're going to continue to be angry. And you don't realize that you're being angry at all the people who love you and who are there with you. And because you're just so clouded. So I had to just overcome that first and be extremely prudent. So I kept a lot of stuff to myself for a while. And then, um, and then I came to a realization that the only way my parents could see that I was happy is to show them that I was happy, and say see them for them to see for them to see me successful, that I'm doing my own thing, that I don't need them. I guess mainly is like, I guess they want to think I want to say this is just my parents, but I want to think that they want for me to need them. And then once I need them, then they're going to come in with a doctrine and say, Mija, you need to come back to church. That's what you're yearning. That's what you need. And
Ugh.
so I wanted to make sure that I was healed completely. So when I approached them and then they came with their rebuttals, I would say I'm fine. I don't know what you're talking about. I know God, I know Jesus. And as a matter of fact, my relationship is a lot more stronger with God. I'm more than ever.
Yes,
That's
yes.
awesome. Kevin and I talk about this all the time because I went through the going to a different church and stuff like that. And then I finally realized I don't need to go to church to love the Lord. I
Right.
don't. I know Jesus and I can talk to him whenever I want. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad to go to a church. If you find a church that you feel comfortable with, that's great. But
Mhm.
if you're not going to church and you still believe in God, that's the most important thing is knowing that Jesus died on the cross for our sins. We don't need any other man to come between us and God. We don't. And that's the part that a lot of cults teach is that you,
Mhm.
especially church cults that have an apostle or prophet,
Mhm.
like other cults. Same thing, and I congratulate you for that. I really do.
Thank you. I I mean, there's days. Don't get me wrong. Like I've visited churches before just to get an idea of what's out there besides what LDN taught us, and it's definitely a lot different. And I truly believe that as long as the people are praising God with authenticity, God is going to be there.
It's
You know.
crazy how it's ingrained in us, things that La Luz del Mundo used to teach us, the bad things of like clapping and when you're singing or using an instrument when you're singing, you
Mhm.
know. Like Kevin said, they used to tell you that it was
Yeah.
a sin. So when I first started visiting churches non-LDM, I used to feel kind of funny about clapping. I did, or using an instrument. It's like I just felt weird about it. And now what's really crazy is I'm way older than you guys, but I remember when I was a kid, they used to sell LPs of sisters from the church that was El Mundo Sing, so desabridas. They were so blah because there's no music. Even my mom would say, "Oh my gosh," And I still have those LPs because my mom had them and then I got them. But the funny thing is, and they were all to the Lord, nothing to the apostle, right? But now they record with music in La Luz del Mundo. Why
Mhm.
is that? Or they'll play music outside on the outside of La Glorieta in
They hold
Mhm.
Guadalajara.
concerts now. Yeah,
Yes, but with
musical
music
concerts. Yeah.
instruments. But they say is that you're just not allowed to play it to praise the Lord. I don't get it. You really think God is going to see that? It's just
Well, let me tell you something. I've always, even before I left church, um,
Cliffhanger. Holy schmoly. We got left on a cliffhanger right now. That
her name
happens.
shows, but her camera's off. It's amazing
Think.
Kevin, how we all have that similar story, and I think she's coming on.
Just how we deal with it differently, right? Like it's
Right.
just those little decisions that we choose to make
Mhm.
really change the outcome of everything, even by a little bit.
Yeah.
Like right now, she's talking about her parents and what she realized and everything, and I keep thinking the relationship with my dad right now, like it's in the middle of it, but I felt that it's had like a slow like decline now in the sense of animosity, trying to prove a point.
Mhm.
Like it's tiring.
Right.
It's very tiring. But she's on to something, and I was just waiting for her to really say it. Um,
To lose her thought, her frame of thought.
Shout out to Hector. Vamos con
Yes, we
todo.
got we got Rebelde, hi Rebelde, and now yeah, now they allow dancing. Did you guys see that video where there were these viejitas? They were dancing. They were doing kind of like a yoga, and they were dancing. That was so cute. I go, good for them that they're allowing them to do that now. Shake their booty a little bit. Viejitas, these were
Oh,
viejitas. It was so cute. Have you seen
yeah.
that, Kevin?
I have not, but I was laughing because I just saw a video recently, and this is not. I'm not coming at. Oh, here, hang on, she's back.
Okay,
okay.
Oh, I'll save it for later. Go
I don't
ahead.
know what happened.
it's okay.
Sorry.
Where were
Um,
you? We forgot.
oh my God.
Music, and you always knew before you
Oh
left.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so this is probably
Pay
before
attention.
I left. Now I know. Before I left the church was that I always thought people were just extremely hypocrite in church, and I absolutely hated it. And I include myself in there because I was a hypocrite too, and
Hmm.
I felt like it just didn't really make any sense to me. But I had to always push those thoughts like to the back of my head, and just I would purposely get myself extremely busy with like activities because you know you think, oh, these are just bad spirits or whatever. But honestly, like there's just so many people who were just huge hypocrites, and they didn't really care as long as they believe in the election. That's all that
You're
mattered to them.
good. Yeah, you're good.
I have family members that they go to parties. Sometimes I see them at the party with a cigarette in their hand or a drink in their hand, but their family still accepts them because they still believe in the election. And it's like,
Yeah.
wow. Where
Which, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I'm living a good life. I'm married. I have children. I have a job. I work. I'm a professional. I'm not doing any harm to anybody, but because I don't believe in the election, they have me as the worst of the worst person in the world, and I'm over it though, mija. I'm over it. But again, for me, it's been a while. I lost my family when I defended my nieces. When I said that my nieces were victims of Nason, that's when I lost my family. And you know what? I will do it over and over and over and over again because it's the truth.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's where it kind of, for me, as much as I believed in the election because I was a true believer, I was devout. I was the only person in my household who was extremely devout. Like I literally dedicated most of my time to church, and I sacrificed a lot of family time just to be there. And so when I left, hold on, I just lost my train of thought. But when I left, um, my family, oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. What was I gonna say? It was important.
It was important. Okay. We
Oh
were
God.
talking about family,
Uh-huh.
leaving.
Uh-huh. Jesus. You
Hypocritical
know what?
people.
It's gonna come back. I promise it's gonna come back.
Okay.
But yeah, like I was the most devout member in my family essentially, and so it was a shocker. I guess that's what it was. Like it was a shocker for my family to like realize like what Sarai left, like what? And oh, ya me acordé. It's it goes to the fact that my values and principles overcome all that. Like it goes back to like me loving Jesus Christ over everything. And because Jesus Christ to me established those morals and principles, that's why I chose to step away. And it wasn't because I want to be hateful or because I want to go and club and drink, because I absolutely don't like doing any of that stuff. Like I'm not that kind of person.
Right.
But the fact that I knew what was right is why I left. And I don't think people will ever comprehend that. And if they don't, it's okay. That's
Yes.
you, you know? So yeah, that's what it was. It was the morals and principles.
I like
Yeah.
that.
And you know what and I think that's I try to dig into why some people what is it that some people have that other people don't have to get out of a cult.
Hmm.
And I still to this day haven't figured out in regards to how smart you are or how not smart you are or how daring you are. It's not that. I believe it truly, truly in my heart because, like I said this before, Kevin, on our podcast, is that I had doubts like you are. You did, Sarai, right? And
Hmm.
then I believe truly in my heart that you probably in your heart, in your mind, you said, Lord, show me, guide me.
Hmm.
And all I say is for people to just tell God, ask God to
Hmm.
guide you to where He wants you to be. And I was still going to church. And even though I was already married to a gentil, he didn't come between me and church. I would go to church on Sundays. Um, but it wasn't until my dear, dear friend told me that she had been raped many times by Samuel that I just literally got on my knees at home and started crying and said, Lord, you answered my prayer. This was before Nason being arrested, mija. And so God answered my prayer. So when all this thing happened I already knew Nason was going to take over. When they were saying, that they were telling, the guy was saying, can people come up? Can you guys email us and tell us if there's going to, remember, I was listening to that. See if anybody has any dreams and, send them to us so we can, and then all of a sudden they pick out one dream. Who knows? So but God allowed you to, Mija, to say,
Yeah.
I'm gonna dig in. see what I could find. And it wasn't because you were, you were digging. I don't even think you were expected to find what you found, but I commend your friend that told you, I'll be here no matter what. That's awesome. Is that your wifey by any chance?
I'm sorry.
Was that Nina that told you that?
Oh,
No.
No, it was somebody else. Oh, okay.
What are you talking about?
Never mind. That's fine. No,
Oh,
I mean, when she mentioned that her friend told her, she mentioned that her friend told her about, regardless if she wanted to stay or go, that she would always be her friend. Leave the church.
Oh, no, I didn't get that from Dira. It was more of a we were on the same page right out the gate type thing.
No, I'm
But
talking about Sarai.
oh no, sorry, got lost there. Sorry. I y'all are touching on something that is otherwise known as community, right? The one thing that we say that we miss the most when we do feel nostalgic in that sense is we miss community. We miss the people. We miss the laughs. We miss the camaraderie of everything, right? And we've said it many times that community exists outside of that place. You just have to find it because you're not like everybody else. You are you. And my community outside of leaving this cult, the reality is not going to be the same as yours.
no.
It's going to be different. It's going to be a different community that you find for better or for worse. And if you end up lucky to be in the same communities, y'all are on different paths, right? So you came, oh yeah, we did, but we all came from a place where it was one community, no matter where you went, in a sense, right? And it was beautiful. And because we spent so much time with each other, we kind of, I don't want to say we got Stockholm syndrome, but you kind of like had to put up with certain people and, fall in love with them, right? Now you don't even have to worry about that. Kind of, sort of, maybe, depending on your community, right? So for you have all these activities that you did and everything. Have you found that one community is enough, or have you found yourself amongst different communities and that kind of fills in those little gaps that thought weren't going to get filled up again?
I want to say neither, but I'm going to go for the second one, that just, I guess, different communities, different people. But I see it more as like the people who I pick to be close to me. That's my community. And so, and it's been hard too, because I also, during that time that I was trying to like unlearn everything, I stumbled upon a lot of people who I thought I could trust with my story, and ended up weaponizing it, and that wasn't fun. So I think there was a lot of searching for that, but eventually, I and that's something that I also learned during these last 4 years that I've been out, or 5 years, I guess, almost 5 years. So is that I had to stop being a people pleaser, because I was absolutely one. I still am sometimes. People please. I only people please the people that I know are gonna appreciate me and what I'm doing. So that's a different story.
That's a different story. You know what?
Yes.
La Luz del Mundo did that to us. They used us, and we
Yes.
never knew how to say no. So that's a really good one.
Yeah. So I think that, man, I've found my people. I found my little tribe. And they're just amazing. And I've been just immensely blessed, and I owe it all to God, because I think that journey really, in all, it was a journey of me trusting God, because I never trusted him. I never learned to trust him. And so now, I mean, from then to like now, like I have to continue trusting God, because things are always going to happen, good, bad, whatever it is, you're always going to go through that. And so, you have to figure out, how much are you going to trust the Lord? And do you trust him that everything's going to come out well, or whatever his will is. We
Right.
we have to stick by that. And so at the end of the day, like, Jesus Christ is my savior and Lord, and I'm going to trust him. And I'm going to trust him with the people around me. And so far, the people who I've picked, who I know that are well mannered, well intentioned, I'm going to stick by them. And that's all that matters to me. And honestly, I'm at a point in my life, like, if I befriend people, great. But if we're just going to be acquaintances, that's fine too. I don't have
Nothing
any.
wrong with that.
Yeah.
You know what, Sarai?
Okay.
I'm gonna. There's a comment from on here, but I wanted to say something before we bring that up. Is that I've learned in the time that I left La Luz del Mundo is two things. Is that be careful of who you befriend from ex-LLDM, because you don't know who to trust at the
I agree.
beginning. And I don't want you to. I got hurt. I got burned. So I just kind of be careful with that, because everybody's is at a different level. And so we tend to critique each other about, why did you do that? Or why do you do that? Why did you get earrings? Why don't you get earrings? So we have to be careful with that. But another thing too is I learned that I've got to be me, and people need to love me for who I am. And people need to love us for who we are. And I've learned that it's okay to play cards with my friends. It's okay to have a margarita in the summer and sit out with my friends by the pool. It's okay. You know what I mean? So people outside that have never been out of La Luz del Mundo, we were always in such a bubble, like Kevin said, that now it's okay to explore your friends in the real world, and enjoy that. That's what I've done. Is I have such great friends and neighbors that I hang out with on the weekends. We'll text each other, and my husband and I will play cards with them, and or go play bingo or whatever. We just have so much fun, and that's what it is. Especially me, I've lost so many years in La Luz del Mundo of not being able to do things because they were a sin. That, like you said, I'm not one that will go raging or dancing and stuff like that. But if my husband wants to pull me in the kitchen and say, "Babe, dance with me," I'll do it.
Oh yeah,
It's
absolutely.
I
Yes.
love that. I love that.
Yeah. Go ahead and read the comment, Kevin.
Yeah. So this one's from Dira. Would Sarai like to be on again? I would like to be on with her, that's Dira, to talk about the discrimination women are constantly bumping into, but being brushed aside as a form of obedience and acceptance.
Love it.
One thing I know that it's and they may have already done it in other podcasts, right? Where we talk about a women's perspective and their lives inside of the church. And there's, my God, there's like so much to be said about that, right?
I have a
So
lot to say about that.
I bet you do. I really bet you do. So
Hey guys,
this is,
comments. Do you want her back?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said for people to write on the comments that they want you back.
Yeah,
oh, they're gonna get her back.
I'll be back.
So
yeah.
the one thing that I would like to try, and I've never done this before, and it's just like in the moment type of thought, and maybe it blows up in my face, but I grew up as a male in the church. I have my perspective. I have the understanding of that of a guy inside a church, and how easy it is for men to exist inside cults than it is for women. So when we do this, I would like it where I bring up the male perspective, and then I want the reality of things from your point of view, because there's just so much to be said, like about all of it, just all of it.
I will say this, that I think the expectation that LLDM has of women is unreachable. It
Doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. Okay, so a little bit of personal stuff about me is that, like, I was very lucky that I did not get married with anybody. No offense, Kevin. I'm not talking bad about you, but
It was a hard
I
lesson
didn't
for me
get
to
married
learn.
with
I get it.
with nobody from there. So when I left, I was single, was single because I'm currently dating somebody, but
Mhm.
I met my current partner, and he's wow, like he is the epitome of like God's love
Aw.
and understanding, and like he's just the amazing. And I never thought that I could find somebody like that outside of LLDM, because that was the idea, is like you have to marry somebody from church and blah blah blah, and it's a sin. And like I really hated that kind of I guess talking down on us, that we had to marry somebody from church. And I dated a couple of guys, and I'll be honest, they mm-mm, no, de, ni le
Caesar
dieron a los
said,
talones, ni le dieron a los
"No."
talones to my boy, to my current partner. Like,
And not only that, but they give you 3 months to get to know somebody. Who does
oh
the
my
3 months?
gosh, I absolutely hated that. Like, oh, Jesus. And you know what? That's the reason why I never got married. Because of that. Because I hated the pressure of the idea that I had to get married young, that I had to have kids, and I had to stay at home. Like that was not the person I grew up to be. And so I avoided the 3 month time frame as much as possible.
Oh, are you saying you talked in secret with
Oh
guys?
my gosh. Yes, I
I did.
did. Oh my God, what a sin.
I dated my husband, and I married a PK. Okay, Pastor Kid, and we dated for a whole year. But that was before the 3 months thing. That was before that ruling thing. But and even with that, I really didn't know him, because you don't know someone until you live with them.
Hmm?
And my husband says this now. You really have to live with somebody to know that person, because when you wake up in the morning with bad breath, all lagañoso, and that's when you know.
Yeah, I know. It's funny.
So yeah, I'm not saying everyone has to do it. That's showing your own belief, but I'm just saying, it's like you do have to know a person for a long time, more than 3 months, that's for sure, to know that's the
Hmm?
person you want to put that ring on. That's
Yes.
I
my
I agree.
Okay. Well, we did reach the end of the hour, and I get more like great feedback on how we keep things short. So I'm gonna go with it. Um, so for the next episode, I don't know what next Monday. I think we had a special guest for Monday. So I'm excited about this one, like too. Like I'm excited about everyone that comes
we
over,
can we can
honestly.
we can give a little highlight if you want me to.
A what?
You want me to give a little highlight what's coming next Monday?
Go for it, yeah.
So, but Sarai, keep in mind what you want to talk about, because we don't want to miss your motivation. So, but we do have someone that we're going to have next Monday. She was an obrera, and she left the obra, and unfortunately she had to get divorced. But she's going to tell her story of when she went to the obra, and what the things that she went through and stuff. And it's going to be really good. I'm really excited, and it's going to be an awesome testimony. Again, our goal, Kevin, and our goal is to hear your story of what you went through,
Hmm.
what woke you up, what clicked, and how are you now? How are you
Hmm.
overcoming all those obstacles? That's the main thing, is just to know that, and I think that that helps a little bit of here and a little of that.
Hmm.
Everyone picks up on little things that we all did that has
Right.
helped us succeed and keep going with our life. I mean, I see you, Mija. You have a beautiful. I can feel your spirit, and I'm so happy for you. I'm happy that you have a young man that appreciates who you are, and God bless you, Mija. That's awesome. That's great news.
Thank you. I feel the love. I really do.
Aw, well, feel my love from Tavi.
So I want to answer a quick couple questions because I know that I never promised anything. I want to make that very clear. I know I said I had a guest from DC American that converted in the East
Oh yeah.
Coast and all that. She couldn't make it this time, and that's just what it was. She'll be on later at a later time, so that's gonna happen. She was under the weather and everything. So Sarai, would you be willing to come on in 2 weeks time?
I think so.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
have Dira. Well, I won't have Dira. And Dira is gonna
You're going to
probably.
Sarah.
I'm gonna ask her. Yes, yes. I don't know how else to say it. It's just it's that language. But obviously it was gonna be an ask. But she'll be here, and I'd love to like look at the perspective of women inside of LLDM. Now, if anyone knows me, they know I don't go to the conventional. Well, how did you feel about being a woman in the church? Well, how did you feel about wearing skirts? Well, how did you feel about wearing a chalina? None of that. A chalina. No, none of that. We're going to talk about what it is to be a woman in revivals, the expectations that is placed on them, the social pressures that come along with going through all of that, the social pressure that comes with being a single woman, the expectations that you have, which by the way, I will say that women in that cult, their expectation is so high, it exceeds that of what's expected of the apostle. And I want to make that very clear. Very, very clear. The apostle can hide and go do his thing. The women, they can't. They have to do this day in, day out. And that's what we're going to dive into. So, do you have any parting words for a version of yourself in the future? From where you are today, a message for your future self.
To continue to trust God and live life every day to whatever God wants to give me. I think that's really, for me, that's really what it is. It's just trusting God and being happy and enjoy life to the fullest.
That's awesome.
What
Hey,
else can we say?
before you go, Kevin, I do want to say something real quick. Bati Chica was on another podcast. I think it was Sarai's. And I would love to have her also as a guest. She's here with us right now, and I'm going to challenge her. She's one of our next victims. She's actually, I've seen her name on here listening to us. Another person that, what do you guys think? But I would love to get the perspective from someone that has not been at LDM. I talked to Innovation Group, and he agreed to be in our podcast. I want to know how he sees things from the outside in. What does he think of? What does he think of us? Or what does he think of the whole thing? That'd be really cool to hear, because I've always wondered what motivated you in Innovation Group to open your channel and to speak for us, to be our voice, like Luis Carlos Reyes, like Hermano Gamaliel. So he agreed that he would go on. He's so cute. He goes, I don't really have any story. He has a story, because how did he get involved with all this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he doesn't like gossip or drama or anything like that. He just speaks and lets people tell their story, and I love that about it. But I just want to know what inspired him to do that. And my hat's off for those that never belong to La Luz del Mundo and are here listening to our story and understand us. I think that's awesome. So that's all I have to say is thank you guys for being here with us. And God, there's so many. Simiente Santa, she's so cute because she speaks no English, but she's always supporting our channel. And she goes, "Yo no inglés." She's so cute. But I go, get yourself a translation, something, so you can understand. But Rebelde, I see a lot of new names. Kevin, Felina, Gaviota, thank you so much for being here with us. And Innovation, like I said, I really thank you, Rebelde. You're sweetheart. Lili Digno, I love you. He's I'm excited for that topic that your wife wants to talk to Sarai. That'll be really good. I'm gonna probably butt out and let you guys. I'll be in the back because I would love to hear you guys talk about that. That's a great topic. So,
I think so.
I'm sorry.
I think so too. I agree, and I'm ready for it because, man, let me tell you. I'll leave with this. I remember one time that there was a minister who said that the woman's job in a marriage was to stay home and have children. And it wasn't for her to work, and that really enraged me. And I'm like, well, so what about me? Like, I guess I'm never gonna get married.
That's cute.
But anyways, we'll leave that for
Yeah, no, that's the cliffhanger that we're gonna leave you on for the 2 weeks from now. And to all the men that are thinking that this is going to be a vent session or anything like that. No, I want to make that very clear. First of all, this is going to be a hard pill to swallow. It's not about you. It's not about you. And I'm going to say it one more time because it took someone like me a long time to get that through his head. It's not about you. It's about them. You have your space. They deserve theirs. So with that, I love you all. Un besito a todos los que llegaron hoy día. And we will see you all in the next one.
Los amo. God bless. Bye, Saraí. It was great meeting
Bye.
you.